Launch. It's the Delgado Report every Wednesday on WQID Hot 105.3.
Hello, Hattiesburg. Welcome to the Delgado Report. We are happy to be with you again, and I'm happy to have some friends back who are going to share information with us about the cannabis business. We have none other than the blooming Barristers with us today. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi, Ms. Delgado. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm having a second, Absolutely, absolutely. I am having some feedback here that I'm working on. All right.
If it's from if it's from the live stream, you have to mute the secondary live stream. So like if you're streaming onto another platform like YouTube or Facebook, you have to mute that one. You have to mute that other one, because otherwise it'll be like an echo.
And a time delay.
No, don't mute yourself.
I'm trying to see where to mute that one.
So it's probably another tab. It comes up on an internet tab.
Okay.
Technology, we love it and hate it.
Okay. I think I see it. Okay. All right, ladies. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, I think we may have it now. All right. All right, ladies. Welcome to the Delgado Report again. I am so happy to have you. Let's go around and introduce ourselves to our audience.
Well, thank you for having us here again on your show. We are very excited to be able to talk to the people in Mississippi again. My name is Chareka Gadson. I am from Killeen, Texas, and I have very deep roots out of Florida, Mississippi. That's where all of my maternal family is from, and pretty much majority of them still stay in the area, if not still in Florida. I'm actually a former Hinds County public defender. So, you know, already done some work out in the area. My background is in heavy litigation and research, working with businesses with, you know, their breach of contract lawsuits, and assisting them with making sure that they're still doing everything that they need to do to prevent foreseeable issues. Right now, my practice has become largely focusing on assisting businesses with their trademarks, their business structures, creating business trust, and also now assisting cannabis businesses who are entering the industry and who want to remain compliant if they are already in the industry. I attended Howard University. Happy homecoming to everybody who's a Bison who's listening, and graduated from Thurgood Marshall School of Law in Houston, Texas. Go Tigers.
All right, I'll go next and follow up. Hello, everybody. My name is Christina McPhail Stockdale. I am a Michigander, born and raised from Detroit, where we're known for saying, "What up, though?" So I am an attorney up here, and my primary area of practice actually is cannabis law now, something I've been developing over quite a number of years. I have a background in both complex business litigation matters, including a criminal defense, where I helped people and defended them regarding their marijuana possession charges and other type of narcotic trafficking charges, which naturally progressed me into now helping people to get into this industry and be successful and build generational wealth. I've been doing this now for roughly almost 17 years, and I enjoy what I do, especially as it relates to the cannabis area and spectrum. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm so looking forward to our discussion.
I'm LeTonya Moore. I guess round out the Blooming Barristers trio. I feel like I'm the senior statesman of the group. My background is in federal regulatory law and international business. I work with companies that are specifically looking to expand strategically, both here in the US and abroad. Much like the other ladies, I've worked particularly in like the brand protection space. So I've done, have worked extensively with intellectual property, asset protection, also some heavy SEC regulatory work, working with people that are raising money through investor funding, private equity, family office investing, a lot of large scale investing as far as that goes. Lately, the last couple of years with these ladies, I have gotten into the cannabis space, and on the other side, also working with some private clients in places like Trinidad, in the CARICOM countries that are looking at cannabis cultivation as a part of, creating an alternative to the dependency on tourism. So very glad to be here. Very glad to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much, Mrs. Delgado, for having us.
Absolutely. So let's get into the thick of it. What do you have for us today?
Okay, you got our presentation queued up, ma'am? I
am about to do it now. You all have to help a sister out now. All right, here we go. Got you back. All right, all right.
We are all family. We are all family here. So while she is pulling that up, we had the opportunity to be here a couple of weeks ago, and we got overwhelming responses. First of all, I want to thank you guys for reaching out to us, for sending us your questions. It gave us the opportunity to really hone in and see what was most important on the minds of the viewers and the listeners from before. So very excited to hear from you guys. And so what we decided to do for this time is to really just focus on some key pitfalls. Because for us, as you remember, if you guys were with us last time, Attorney Gadson was saying that basically a misfiled application is an application fee loss, and no one wants to lose $25,000 because they've taken a misstep. So what we're going to talk about today is some of sort of like the higher level challenges that you may have, and some things that may blindside you as you are putting forth your cannabis applications. But we're not just going to talk about the pitfalls. We are going to give you some pointers on how you can avoid those pitfalls as well.
All right. I have you up.
We can't see it.
You can't see it.
No, I think you have to stop sharing.
Okay, stop sharing now. Okay.
Okay, and after you stop sharing, so yeah, stop the screen share. Share
Okay.
share again, and then go to where you have it pulled up.
Okay.
Listeners, what y'all and viewers, what y'all are
Can
witnessing?
you see it now?
Yes, ma'am. See, they
Okay.
witnessing Black women make it happen, right? This
All right.
we come together
all the time.
we make it happen. So yes, so if you can go to the next slide. I think I may have sent you the old one. But we're gonna make this work. So let's go down to I think I sent you the wrong one.
Now you may have sent me the correct one. I just may have pulled up the old one.
All right, let me see if I sent you the correct one.
Okay.
I'm opening what I sent. Yes, so I did send you the correct one.
Okay.
Y'all, we're gonna make this work today because
Okay.
yeah, so let me do this. Cancel. Okay, now I gotta find y'all because now I'm lost. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so okay, I have an idea. If you stop sharing.
Okay.
And if you are comfortable, if you make me host, then I will be able to share from my end.
Okay.
Or you can just allow me to share my screen, whatever is.
I am going to make you the host.
Okay, so let me get to that. I am going to be pulling up. In the meantime, people, I'm going to be pulling up this presentation, and we gonna make this a thing today.
Okay, you are now the host.
Okay, so we're gonna make this work. I will definitely ask someone, one of you ladies, to please watch time for me, so that we can make sure that we properly keep time. Okay, I hope that this is right. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to, all right, we're gonna share the screen. Okay, and please let me know when you can actually see my screen.
We can see your screen, LeTonya.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm gonna put this in present mode if I can.
All right, now we cook.
Okay, here we go. See, you know, I'm from Alabama, y'all. We call that now we cooking with grease, right? So, you know, we got the grease hot ready. We dropping that chicken in, right? So today we are going to be talking about avoiding the pitfalls in the Mississippi cannabis licensing process. And again, as I mentioned before, we are going to be focused on those areas of choosing the right team, of how to avoid the pitfalls with team members and partners, and choosing the right location and avoiding the pitfalls that come with that as well. And so you've already heard about us. We talked a lot about who we are, what we do. And so I'm going to, for sake of time, just skip that and then skip about our team. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about just a high level about choosing the right team members and partners. So we talked extensively last time about eligibility and who can do it and all of this. And so who can legally be a partner or a team member, right? We talked about things like some disqualifying factors, and Attorney Gadson is going to get a lot into the criminal aspect of it, but some recommendations that we make is that you definitely want to make sure that you have a money person, a financial person, someone that understands operations. You definitely want to make sure that you have some licensed professionals also involved in your board of directors or your board of advisors and actually as part of your operations team. You want to make sure that you have the proper people in place. Here is the thing. All of these folks have to go through a criminal background check, but your licensed professionals that you have, they also have to go through an ethics type of check, right? You have to check their background. You have to make sure that they don't have any type of complaints against them. So for example, since most of us are actually, I think all of us, now all four of us here are attorneys, if we were a part of your team, you would want to make sure that you actually check our bar record, right? You want to make sure, are there any complaints against us? And if they are, these are things that would have to be disclosed, right? You also want to find out if there have been any type of suspensions and what is going on historically with the people that are a part of, that are a part of your team. We talked extensively last time about the different disclosures and releases. This is information that you must include as part of your application. Now, what's the pitfalls, right? Just since we're talking about pitfalls, the average person is just not going to tell you that. They're not going to be honest because they're wanting to try to get in on, this emerging industry. You have to make sure that you do your due diligence and you actually check behind every single person that is a part of your team. And you have to look at whether or not they have anything that would be disqualifying factors in their background. Okay. That is very crucial because, again, I go back to what Attorney Gadson said about the fact that when you pay that application fee, if that application is denied, you will lose that money. So it's very important that you make sure that you take the proper steps and you thoroughly investigate the people that you are looking to add to your team before you start making the commitments and before you actually file the actual application. The disclosures, you have to make sure that you submit to the background check, right? You have to file an affidavit that the background check has been submitted. What we are suggesting is that you actually do your own background check prior to adding these people to your application, prior to adding them to your team, right? To your leadership team and to your ownership team, because you want to make sure that up front you are aware of things that they have in the background. And like I said, both Attorney Gadson and Attorney McPhail Stockdale will talk a lot more about the exact things that you need to do as far as that goes. As far as the licensed professionals that you have, you want to make sure that you check with whatever the governing body is. So for example, for attorneys, it's typically going to be your state bar, right? It's easy to find out if an attorney has had any type of disciplinary actions, whether it's suspension, censures, disbarred, all of those things you want to make sure that you are aware of. Same thing with your CPA, same thing with if you have a medical professional like a pharmacist or any licensed professional, there is a governing body, right, that governs them. So you want to make sure that you do that as well. The other thing too is for people that you are working with where you have these service agreements, okay, same thing. They are subject to the same level of scrutiny as your partners. They have to pass the background check as well. Everyone that's affiliated with this particular company must pass the background check. And so at this time, I am going to turn it over to Attorney Gadson, who will talk a lot more in detail about the retail side. And also she's going to be talking about the criminal aspect of it.
Thank you, LeTonya. Yes, we're, as she stated, you want to make sure that your, as Attorney LeTonya Moore stated, you want to make sure that the people that you're working with are people who are not going to put your license at risk. That is one of the more daunting aspects of receiving this license in Mississippi is you are literally responsible for everybody you bring into your space. If anybody is not eligible to be a participant, your license is going to be on the line. So again, every applicant that's going to be on this license has to be eligible. Individuals who are ineligible to be on this, to have this license with you, is anyone under the age of 21, anyone who is currently a member of the Mississippi Senate or the Mississippi House of Representatives, or is a spouse to a state senator or a member of the House. Also, they cannot have already had a cannabis license revoked somewhere else. They cannot have a tax bill for the state of Mississippi. And they cannot have been convicted of a disqualifying felony as defined by the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Act. I just like to always point out that your residency does not make you ineligible, because Mississippi does allow non-residents to get a license. And I think that that's always, important to share. But back to the disqualifying felony offenses. They have set out 3 subsections for what is defined as a disqualifying felony offense. The first one is the Mississippi Code section 97-3-2. And this pretty much has about 20 violent offenses that, if you have a conviction on your record, you are ineligible to be licensed in the state of Mississippi. Now, I'm going to go through these, and I'm going to, kind of explain, why it's important to get details when you are trying to see if yourself or someone else has a disqualifying offense on their record. And I want to always make sure that I am making sure it's clear that this is a conviction, because I understand sometimes you can have a pending charge on your background, but if it's not a conviction, then it's not considered disqualifying for these purposes. Now, we have a DUI is listed under the section for being a disqualifying felony offense. We also have murder and attempted murder. We also have aggravated assault. We also have manslaughter. We also have the killing of an unborn child. We have kidnapping, human trafficking, poisoning, rape, robbery, sexual battery, drive-by shooting or bombing, carjacking, felonious neglect, abuse, or battery of a child, burglary of a dwelling, use of explosives or weapons of mass destruction, statutory rape, exploitation of a child, gratification of lust, or shooting into a dwelling. Now, they also provide specific sections, and the reason why is it's just not always enough for you to have a conviction of that specific, that specific offense. For example, someone may hear me say, "Oh, I have a DUI, I don't qualify." Actually, you may still qualify. Here, it's not just DUI, it's a DUI that has caused death or maiming. And so if you have a DUI on your background, but it did not cause a death or, serious injury to anyone, you would still qualify. And so, you want to make sure that you're doing the research and making sure that it is your specific conviction or the specific offense on your background that is disqualifying, or is it a subsection under the offense according to Mississippi that states that there needs to be additional facts for you not to be eligible. And so you want to make sure that you're doing, thorough research for that. Now, as it relates to offenses that occurred outside of Mississippi. Now we're talking about any violent felony crime in any jurisdiction. So if you have a conviction for an offense that's considered violent in another state, then that's going to disqualify you. Even if in Mississippi, you would be good to go with that charge based on what they consider felony offenses. It doesn't matter. You didn't get your charge in Mississippi. And so that state's definition of violent crime is what's going to apply in this instance. And so again, you want to make sure that you are thoroughly researching and confirming, whether or not any conviction on yours or an affiliate's background is going to actually be an issue. Again, another conviction that could prevent you from getting a license right away is a conviction of a controlled substance within the last 5 years. So we're in 2022. So if you have been convicted of possession charge since 2017, you are likely not eligible to apply to get a medical cannabis license in Mississippi. Now, if it was 10, 15 years ago, you're good to go. The time frame that they have provided has expired for you. You are not within those 5 years. And so even if it shows up on your background, it's likely not going to be a reason why they would reject your application. Now, when it goes back to convictions for a controlled substance, they are given an exception for convictions that would not have occurred had the Medical Cannabis Act been in effect earlier. So essentially, if it's a marijuana charge, a marijuana conviction, it's not likely that that's going to be something that's going to keep you from getting a license because of that exception. And so you always just want to make sure that you are applying your particular facts to the guidelines that the state of Mississippi has, provided for your eligibility. Now, background checks, I would definitely advise they be done on your own. Do not wait for Mississippi to do your background check and surprise you with information. This is, doing your own background checks should be part of your due diligence. And one of those reasons, a couple of those reasons are because the lack of transparency, being too trusting, not confirming information, and honest confusion are all issues that can cause you to later have your either license denied or have it revoked once the state starts doing some digging into your license. So as having experience as a criminal defense attorney and just having to be in situations where people's background is an issue within, whether it's a criminal case or a civil case. One thing that I have always, I'm always kind of expecting is people to be, a little embarrassed, having shame because of, issues from their past that they're trying to move beyond. And now they're coming back up. And so you have to understand that when you are trying to do business with people, they are likely going to tell you what it is that they want you to know, not always what you need to know. And so that's why it's very important to educate yourself on the information that they're giving you. And again, that goes into not being too trusting. I understand you don't, a lot of people are just uncomfortable with, awkward conversations. And you don't want to be offensive. You don't want to, challenge information that, people give you, because you want to, you hope that they are giving you the information that you need and is accurate. But the likelihood is that could not be the case. And again, your license is on the line. The thousands of dollars that you have invested into this business is on the line. And so you want to make sure, and again, do your own check. You're not relying. This isn't a situation where you want to, just rest solely on, I'll trust you and move forward. You trust somebody and move forward. You may lose out on some money, or you may be a full-fledged business and have your license snatched because someone you trusted to do business with did not give you, full disclosure. And so again, it's always important to confirm the information. Not confirming that information and taking their word for it can be very detrimental to you and your business later on. Also, one thing that I have had, a couple of experiences with is people just honestly, being confused. I definitely don't want to make it seem like everybody who tells you something, that's not accurate with their background is because they're liars. Sometimes people literally do not know. For example, a lot of people, are not clear on if something was or was not a conviction. There's deferred adjudication where you provide a guilty plea, but the judge pretty much holds your guilty plea and gives you probationary terms that you have to fulfill. Once you have successfully fulfilled, your obligations during that term, your case will likely be, dismissed. Now, will it still show up on your background? Yes. Will it show up as a conviction? No, it should show up as a deferred adjudication. But someone doing your background will be able to see, the criminal charge on your background. Now, if you fail to comply during your deferred term, then that places you back before the judge, and they'll just be issuing that sentence for your guilty plea that you've already provided. And so in those cases, a lot of people are confused on, well, was I convicted? Because I remember, that I was, but I remember that I gave a guilty plea, but then they told me that, I had to do this and I failed, but I'm still not clear. Well, yeah, those are the type of questions that some people just don't have. And some people honestly have attorneys and still are not comfortable getting all the details from their attorneys. I don't know if it's, they're nervous about not coming across as well versed in the law, but sometimes they walk away really not having full answers, and it can become an issue later on, like in this case. Also, one thing that I've had a lot of experience with is time served guilty pleas. Some people really believe because they didn't serve any jail time, the case was dismissed, when in actuality, they were given time served on their charge after they, took a guilty plea. And then they were able to, leave the courthouse that day. And so as far as they was concerned, the case is over with, thrown out, and they don't have to, spend a day in jail. And so further down the line, they may consider that to be a dismissal. But then when their background check is ran, then it comes up that they actually have a conviction on their record. And it's confusing because I didn't even go to jail. So how is that a conviction? You want to make sure that, if you are unaware and you are trying to enter into this business, you need to check on yourself before you start, presenting yourself as a viable partner. Or if you are considering bringing new people in, you want to make sure that, again, you are checking behind them, based on the information that they are given. Now, I also want to talk about some of the things that could possibly be done if you are an individual who has things on their background, but you're eligible to have them expunged. If you've had a case, if you've had a charge, but it was ultimately dismissed, I would encourage you to get an expunction. go and get it completely removed off of your background. And so it's not something that comes up. It's not something that you even have to explain, because I've definitely had dealt with a lot of clients who in the past were confused again, because I know this case was dismissed. I have the paperwork. Well, dismissal is the first step. The second step is, now that you have received this dismissal, there are steps that you have to do to get it completely removed from your background. And so I definitely encourage you all to remove anything from your background that you can. Now, I'm going to be passing this on to Attorney McPhail Stockdale to talk to you all about zoning.
Thank you so much, Counsel. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping to just kind of wrap up our conversation, just briefly to talk about a few issues about some of the other type of locations that pitfalls that we deal with when we're talking about zoning, a secured location, and some of the local rules that you have to be aware of, because this is such a regulated area. So my discussion will be brief and broken into 3 areas: zoning, secured location, and local business or licensing or permit issues that you have to be mindful of. So while in the zoning area, while most marijuana entrepreneurs are seeking to open their business, they face similar problems like any other U.S. business. And of course, zoning is one of the major ones that we unfortunately have to deal with. And those zoning pitfalls can easily be avoided. What I would, of course, emphasize on is that each area, whether it be with zoning, secured location, or dealing with local business licensing issues, all of these things have to deal with specifically staying in compliance with the law, and knowing the law is very important to operating in these types of businesses. So when we're talking about zoning, most states, including Mississippi, don't necessarily put a cap on licensing, but the zoning issues, what the local communities require for purposes of where your building is located, the zoning requirements, this is where your building or your operations are going to be at, can create the caps. For example, when we're thinking about a dispensary, we're looking at a location that will provide and offer high traffic walking people that can come in, specifically allowing for individuals that know where you're located, and then creating maybe a bustle of business in the area of where your business is located, because people traveling to where you are going to be may also stop and cater and patron some of the other businesses. So your zoning boards typically like to try to put these in your heavy business districts, but there are some exceptions to that. Of course, they don't want these businesses to be nearby churches. They don't want these businesses to necessarily be directly across from a school or anything that would involve a violation of the drug-free zone. So you can't just open your business anywhere. If you're seeking about looking for the right location, whether it's a purchase or a lease, you can do both. Just be very mindful of the type of license that you're pursuing and where it has to be. So while we're looking at perhaps a retail or dispensary being specifically in a more high traffic area, then you are looking at grow facilities being in a more off-street industrial area because of noxious odors being emitted. The grow facilities don't deal directly with a point of sale to a consumer. That's the dispensaries that do that. Grow facilities typically service the dispensaries to have product to sell. So when we're dealing with zoning, you have to be mindful of where your space has to be with, and then this all would then determine your budget and what you have to look at to be able to purchase or lease such type of property. Another issue with zoning is how many square feet you have to be away from a violation of being too close to a controlled liquor establishment, like a liquor store, or again, a school or a church, or even another cannabis business. So in Mississippi, certain cities have different zoning requirements, wherein you may or may not be able to seek what we call a zoning variance, meaning if you're 5 feet away from a space where you're supposed to be 10 feet away, is the municipality going to allow you to operate? You would have to seek their permission. A lot of times the municipalities are very strict on these. Seeking a variance can be very difficult. So always be mindful that while you're in a state that says, hey, we're going to open this up opportunity for everyone, but the local municipalities can kind of put a cap on that by zoning only limited areas. So it's very important that you understand the zoning requirements to maybe overcome some zoning issues or to inquire about zoning issues. It's very important maybe have good relationships locally with your representatives in your municipality, so that those conversations can continue to be fresh and can continue to maybe help you in that area. Moving on, let's talk about secured location. When we're talking about secured location, there are just really 5 main pitfalls that I just want everyone to be very careful to adhere from. And I'm just going to read them off from some of my talking points and notes. One is, again, the number one issue is not following codes and regulations with regards to your secured location, and I'll expand upon that. Poor perimeter security measures, not having the proper security personnel in place, poor access and control procedures, how things are moving in and out of your facility, poor intrusion protection. Your plan should help your space from getting robbed. And of course, poor operating process and procedures. This goes into your personnel. Counsel LeTonya Morris spoke about that briefly, about the right type of hiring practices to ensure and deter embezzlement and all kind of problems that can happen internally. Again, because it's a regulated area, theft, breach of the perimeter, other security problems must be reported. That is a requirement by Mississippi and most states. They want to know about the problems that are happening in your facility, because those are issues that you represented in a security plan that you would have in place to prevent those types of things. A security plan must be submitted as part of your application. And of course, within the security plan, you would be talking about how to secure the location. So these are all very things to be aware of when moving forward and trying to stay in compliance, because lack of compliance means a loss of a license. If you don't fully understand the principles of security that are particular to cannabis facilities, those are very regulated. You should definitely look to try to get the type of right consultation or help to be able to have that. Keep in mind that the mistakes often happen, but those measures have already been aligned by regulations on how to avoid them. So there's not much excuse to say, well, this happened, when there are regulations that told you what you had to do to secure the location. Moving on, let's talk about our local business and licensing permit pitfalls. Again, this goes back to code compliance. The problems locally that are often pitfalls for people are taxation issues, the HR training or lack of HR, lack of contracts, and even lack of counsel. When we talk about, again, the compliance issues, they put your entire business at risk. We've heard the old adage about failure to plan is a plan to fail. You can receive hefty fines, not just from the state regarding your license, but locally. Your business can be shut down. You can have strict compliance basically with the local laws is what your business should be best at, including selling quality marijuana product if you're a retail or a grower, or what other type of license you engage in for the business. Tax laws. Federally, while we don't have to worry about prosecution the same way, we do have to worry about the taxation. You can't itemize certain tax deductible expenses that are common with this type of business. As such, you're paying all the taxes. You don't get the write-offs like you would in any other business for your costs and for your expenses because of IRS Code 280E. So with that being stated, you have to make sure that you pay those taxes, you understand the taxes that are due, and that any tax deficiency can also deny the renewal of your license. It's important to have the right type of tax person. These types of taxes can be the sales tax, a use tax, excise tax, income tax, business property tax. These things must be adhered to. They're imperative to the operation of your business. And again, I won't labor the issue of proper training and the lack of HR, but someone, if not properly trained, could do something out of compliance, and that compromises your license. So it's imperative to have the right people on board. It's imperative to have the right training in place, and for employees to be able to respect the rules and the policies that you put in place for your specific business. Lack of contracts. Many people in the business tend to be lax, because maybe itself the industry, we're talking about cannabis, people tend to be a little bit chill and a little bit more laid back. So give me 1 second. I have a 4-year-old knocking on my door. So either way, when we're talking about personnel, they too can be a pitfall. So moving on, we'll talk about the lack of contracts. Friends and family can get you into trouble. And a lot of times these are friends, mom and pop type businesses. And we know that friends and family are sometimes easily to trust. You may not have to worry about them embezzling your business, but their non-compliance can definitely cost you. And then lack of contracts can cost you more money. Sometimes when the money is coming in, if your business is successful, those relationships can break down and compromise the entire investment. One of the major things we learn as attorneys is get it in writing. Get it in writing. And at the application level, when you have a business partner, when you're doing certain work with vendors or a joint venture agreement, the state requires disclosure on those type of relationships for people who have a certain percentage and interest into your business. So the contracts are very important. Those can definitely be a major pitfall if those agreements aren't written and express the intent of the parties. I will leave it at that. These are the things that I think are definitely important to the operation of your business. And I guess the next thing we'll do is open it up to some Q&A.
Yes, so let me stop the share. All right, that was a lot. That was a lot. I feel honored to be a part of this group. So last time, Ms. Delgado, we did have some questions that came in ahead of time. We encourage people to send us questions. So if it's okay with you, can we roll right into that and go ahead? Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
So this question is actually for Attorney Gadson. One of the questions is if employees are under the same eligibility standards, or if our employees under the same eligibility standards as the partners and the license holders.
And the answer to that question is yes, LeTonya. As Attorney McPhail Stockdale mentioned, your employees can be pitfalls for your business as well. And so when you are applying for your license, you need to make sure yourself and the people you're bringing along are qualified individuals. Then once you get your business started, you need to make sure the people you are trusting to participate in the running of your business are also eligible and, you know, don't have disqualifying offenses on their background. And so, yes, absolutely. You want to make sure that you are literally checking the background of anybody you are bringing on to help you maintain and get your license.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. The next question is for Attorney McPhail Stockdale. This person, this is one of the questions that's near and dear to my heart, but it goes definitely along the lines with what you were saying with regard to family. You said the question is, I'm actually the only one interested in this business and not my spouse. So does my spouse need to provide his or her information as well?
Oh, yes, definitely. Part of the disclosure requirements for an application is just not only for the individual principals of the company, but their spouses. Because by marriage, you invested an interest in the company. And so if someone's indicating that they're a 50% owner, even though the spouse will never have anything to do with the business, and even though the partners have wrote documents indicating and divesting their spouses of the interest, the state is still interested in knowing if your partner specifically has any issues, litigation, civil problems, bankruptcies, criminal history and whatnot, problems with the government, taxation issues that can pour over onto the individual applicant. So be very mindful that in addition to the individuals that are part of a business and applying and being vetted by the state, if you're married, your spouse may also be required to make the disclosures. And Mississippi is no exception to that rule. So if you are married and you have a substantial interest in a marijuana business, your spouse will also have to provide a supplemental application or just to disclose who they are. It's not that the state is making them the licensee, but it's part of the licensing process. We're dealing in a sale of a narcotic, still a Schedule 2 now, narcotic controlled substance, but it's still required because of that the disclosures be made. No, you don't have to disclose mom and dad, fortunately.
Thank God. You know, we can't choose our parents now. We can choose our spouse, and maybe we don't make good choices there, but it's a choice.
I would like to say this is a good opportunity to plug in prenuptial agreement.
Oh God, we got to come back and talk about that.
I am pro prenuptial agreement and I am pro postnuptial agreement too. And so listen, if y'all need to figure out ways to separate your assets and your debts, those are the ways to do it.
This next one though, really also Attorney Gadson, I'm gonna actually pitch this one to you. Because I know we both really touched on checking records. So this question is, how do we check our records of our business partners? So I think the question is more about like the background, the things that we talked about with regard to making sure that we do our own due diligence. So I'm gonna pitch that question to you.
Yeah, definitely. Depending on what your what resources you have access to, you know, you can go do a background check on somebody by using services online. Now, I feel like if you want something thorough, hire a private investigator, get somebody else to really do some digging, be able to pull up some of those records that may be sealed. You know, sometimes individual is successful with, getting expunctions or non-disclosures, and so it may not show up. And could that be a problem later on? Maybe not, because of the status of it has been, legally, removed from the record. But maybe you want to know for yourself to see if this individual told the truth or not. Maybe you want to have a conversation with someone who didn't tell you they had something on their background that you were able to find later on that they did. And, it would have been better had they disclosed it to you first, rather than you pulling it up and finding it yourself. So I would suggest, you check your resources, use the options, for background checks online. If you are able to get, like other applications that you filled out where they've asked you, like, where have you lived for this amount of years, go to those counties and pull up the public records from, their criminal courthouse. That's something that is, that's public record. A lot of people don't realize that, but sometimes you don't even need to, necessarily use a service. If you know where this person has lived for periods of time that, are important, then you can go look and see if those cities or those counties where they live, do they have, old cases, against them. So I would definitely, use online resources, possibly hire a private investigator, or do your own, due diligence by finding their addresses for, maybe 10 years and going in, looking into the district clerk's files yourself.
Absolutely. I want to add one thing to that. Do this before you put these people on your paperwork, right? Before you go and set up, last time we talked about setting up your entity and all of that. These are things that you need to do before you actually establish your corporation or your S Corp or your LLC, whatever entity you are going to choose, right? Because once you do that, you've now already made this person a partner. There's already a record that they're connected to your business. So you still would not be able to file the application without doing that. We have lots of questions. Ms. Delgado, actually, we only have about 2 minutes. I don't know that will be time to answer some of the other questions, which are very, very heavily related to funding. So I'm going to make an ask that you have us back and you let us talk about funding, because that's where a lot of the other questions were, questions around, I want to get into this business. I don't have the money. Where do I find it? I want to get into this business, but I heard that you can't put your money in the bank. Like, all of those are things that I think is important for us to deal with. But I realize that we don't have the time today to do that. And so I'm just going to make an ask on behalf of Bloom and Barristers that you have us back in a couple of weeks and we can talk about funding. How does that sound?
It sounds great to me. I'd be happy to have you back. This is absolutely wonderful. I really respect and appreciate the depth of knowledge here and experience, all that you've put together to make this understandable to your average Joe out there. So I really do appreciate that. And hopefully people in Mississippi will go into this business. Maybe I certainly want my target audience to consider it and to listen to the information, the valuable information that you are giving here this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Delgado Report.